really, really difficult to overcome. Chirp 3, Don Sweeney mentioned that Jim Montgomery and the team have started some talks about an extension. This is going to be his last year of a 3-year deal with Boston. Do you think Monty, right now, today, has earned an extension?
Yes.
Okay.
Best regular season in the history of the league.
Mm-hmm.
In season 1, season 2, they make it to the playoffs, and force Florida to it was a tough series, and so I feel like he's hasn't maybe delivered the way that I would want him to with playoff wins, but I feel overall with the talent that they've had the last couple of years, he's done a good enough job to earn an extension. I feel like maybe year 1 they overperformed in the regular season and underperformed in the playoffs a little bit. And year 2 probably they are what they are in the regular season, and in the playoffs, you go up against a team that everybody picked basically to win it. So I don't feel like that's any real reflection on him and his coaching abilities. I would like to have seen, there's some nitpicks I have like along the way. I would like to see him maybe change up some strategies. I'd like to see him change up the power play when it's not working, not be as quick to jerk people around within the lines and so forth. Maybe give some younger guys a little bit more of a look and a little more ice time. But those are criticisms that, I think you could probably levy at any coach. So I still feel like he probably deserves an extension.
I thought the first year, I thought in the playoffs, I thought there were some decisions he made that really hurt the team. Mm-hmm. I really think so. So after year 1, I was really questioning whether or not, they had a great regular season, but I was really questioning whether he's a guy in the playoffs who can make the proper adjustments and get you over the hump if you need it. The second year, they beat Toronto, probably a team that's more talented, mm-hmm. probably the team they should have lost to in that series. So they beat them, barely, but they beat them. And then against Florida, Florida's more talented, heavier and better and deeper and all of that. And they actually gave them, Florida, some of their best competition throughout the playoffs. So I thought he did a better job last year. So to me, that shows, I'm going to just give him the benefit of the doubt and say that shows some growth mm-hmm. in his coaching. And now this third year, this is a big year. I wouldn't give him the extension until like midway through the year, because I still think that hockey is one of these, Claude Julien was fired during a year they won the cup. You know what I mean? Like, coaching in hockey is different, I think, than other sports. Like, you can have a really good team and just not have the right coach. And teams have actually gotten rid of a coach, even though they're really good, mm-hmm. because they just sense that when it comes not cutting time, they're going to need a different type of coach. So, and I think hockey is the one sport that does it that way. So I'm just not sure yet whether or not he's the type of guy. I'm really interested to see a heavier team that they have now. And if they change, he was talking about they're going to be playing below the red line and below the goal line, and offensively, defensively. Like, it didn't sound like they were going to be a heavy, aggressive forechecking team, which we've talked about before. We'd like more of the Carolina, Florida model than mm-hmm. just being passive and then trying to win pucks deep in your own end and trying to get the puck out and all that. I want them to be the aggressor. I don't think it's going to happen this year. So that's what I don't love about it. Like, I almost think that I don't know if I agree with his philosophy, and that's why I wouldn't buy into him. It's not that he's not a good guy. It's not that he's not a good coach. He probably is a pretty good coach. I just don't know if he's the right guy for the brand of hockey I want them to play.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I think, you have to play to the player's strengths. Now, is that something that he can adapt to?
Right.
We've talked about it before. You're not going to be a heavy, aggressive forechecking team with Pasternak and Marchand and some of those guys, but you could turn loose your third and fourth lines
Mhm.
and let them go after it and get
Mhm.
after it. So I would like to see maybe some movement there as far as how he deploys the team and some strategies that he uses, and we'll see if he can kind of change and evolve with the guys that he has, because that should be kind of what you shouldn't just say this is our system. If you have a bunch of guys who can't play the system, then what are you doing? You got to be able to adapt to the talent that you have. So we'll see if he can do that and adapt to the talent. I guess it's still up in the air. The one thing I will say, as far as if you were going to sign him to an extension or not, like, who would you bring in if it's not Montgomery? Then who is it? Is it another retread from somewhere else that all the same guys keep
Right.
reappearing?
Mhm.
Or is it a guy like Ryan Mougenel who
Mhm.
has been pretty outspoken in the press about guys that have been on his team? He seems more like a Cassidy guy to me.
He does.
So is it a Cassidy and then a player's coach in Montgomery, and then you go back to a Mougenel who's more of a Cassidy type if
Right.
if Montgomery's isn't really working out here.
Right. I guess it's just dependent on, yeah, I guess the type of team that you have and the type of, we've talked about this before. Like, what's their identity? I
Yeah.
think they're trying to make their identity more heavy and stuff, but I just hope they don't get too heavy. We'll talk about it shortly here, but
Mhm.
I just don't hope they get too heavy and then not enough speed. And then, there's sort of a balance there. Like, you have to be, yeah, heavy is important, but it's really about the toughness and the nastiness and the willing to do the things it takes to win hockey games and to get under people's skin and to not back down from that type of thing. And so that's really what it's about. The competitive edge was Brick say it's the compete level and that type of thing. Like, that's really what wins the Stanley Cup at the end of the day. And I think a really like good nasty defense.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's what I would take if I was starting a team. Like, I'd get nasty and physical and and wouldn't be intimidated on the back end. That's how I'd start.